I had this catheterization, and the doctor comes in and said, you need 5 bypasses. And both of us looked at one another and said, okay, so when can that be done? You're a cardiologist. I said, you're a cardiologist, you don't do the surgery. He says, well, Dr. Seidel can do the surgery tomorrow morning. I said, good, let's do it. And his attitude was, oh, no. You should go home and think about this. This is a major thing. What he's really telling you, you should go home and put your financial house in order.
They said he needed surgery, so he needed surgery. I'm a nurse, so, well, he had to have it, and it was in God's hands, and that was it. So I said, fine.
It's something we've got to do. Let's do it.
When we told our children, they decided they were all coming down. So they got in the car and down they came. He put his hand through the bar to hold somebody's hand, and he did it all the time. Somebody had to be there to hold his hand.
Went through the surgery, came out.
The doctor came out and told me everything went well, with the kids, and said everything went really well.
But 5 days, I was home. I had a nurse look after me, right? The big thing was that you got to change your lifestyle. The surgery is just part of what's going on here. And I now know the research shows that about 20% of the people who have heart bypass that I had, 20% of them die within 5 years. But if you change your lifestyle, eat properly, and I mean, like, I haven't had a hamburger or a cheeseburger, cut out salt and sugar to as much as possible, no bacon.
No desserts.
No desserts. So I try to do that. It's not easy, it's very, very difficult to change your lifestyle. I was going to cardiac rehab, and after a few days of cardiac rehab, you're on a treadmill, and there's material there you can pick up for it. And I questioned him. I said, what's this Men at Heart support group? And the nurse looked at me and said, we don't have it here. A couple of days later, and I came in, she said, we've been talking among ourselves. We'd like you to start a local chapter of Men at Hearts. It's a national organization. And they did. It's still going strong. I trained the people, even though I had no experience in it, I trained the people to visit. So I think they've got about 25 people now trained who go in on a rotating basis, visit the patients in the hospital to support them when they're in the hospital. Somebody goes in and visits every day, so you schedule people who are trained to do this. And we have monthly meetings where we have speakers, usually surgeons, nurses, etc. And we send out a newsletter every month. So you get there early and you get your meal and you sit down, you're sitting beside someone who may just have had surgery a month ago, 3 months ago, and you talk to them about it and how they're feeling and what's happening. But I have all sorts of stories of patients, I walk into Walmart, not so much now, but way back near the beginning, and someone would come up to me and say, you visited me in the hospital and you helped me do this and that. And that type of thing's very rewarding. We had one gentleman and his wife called me. We were living in Stanaville at the time. His wife called me and said, would you come down and see my husband? He had surgery 2 weeks ago. And he's just lying on the couch with a blanket over him, and he's in a sad state. So I went around and I said, what are you doing lying on the couch? And he said, I don't feel good. I said, let me take that blanket off you, stand up, and just walk around the room. So I then said, how about going for a walk down the street? Well, we got as far as the mailbox. But I came back a few days later and we went further down the street. Well, that's probably 15 years ago. That guy, he was back playing tennis again, and but he'd given up. And, people do get depression.
I think the patients are scared. you know, to move in case they have a heart attack. They, you know, they're terrified.
Whenever you visit the patients in the hospital, I walk in and they're down, they're not very happy, they're hurting, and I tell them, I had that surgery 3 years ago. You did? You're okay now. I said, yeah, that's the whole point. I'm okay and you'll be okay. In fact, every day you'll improve. You're hurting now. Is it better than it was yesterday? And they'll look at me and smile and say, yeah. I said, it'll be better tomorrow and the next day. And the whole thing is just encourage them to move. With the visiting, I've saved people's lives. I've extended people's lives, certainly. American Heart Association has an initiative. In fact, they say at this stage they've got over 100,000 people in a support group nationally. But they came to me in Ireland about, I don't know, 6 months ago and said, we would like to have just Lee County and make up a register of Lee County people with heart disease and have a support group for them. In addition to being in the newspaper and in television and in billboards, American Heart Association in Lee County is setting up meetings, places like Shell Point, but other communities, golf communities, and broadcasting that's available. People do call in. I can go into the website and see the questions that people have, and they're being answered sometimes by American Heart people alone, sometimes by doctors and nurses. And you know, you can't help everybody, and encourage them to make changes in their life. I didn't know that exercise was important. I didn't know that, you know, the diet was important before I had the surgery. I never thought about it. Well, when I think of the 17 years, if I hadn't changed my lifestyle, I wouldn't be here. You know,
Yep.
I would not have survived. The arteries were clogged up again. But you know, you tell people this and they don't believe it. Some people will change their lifestyle. Some people will make the changes for 6 months and then they'll drop off. With this network now, hopefully, they're getting encouragement to keep going.